Great to be with you again on Locked On Texas Tech on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day, always free and available on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts. And today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Football season just around the corner, so visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now. With the only Chris Level, I'm Casey Cowan. Chris, great to be back with you for a Locked On Texas Tech special edition. We're diving into the Matador Mob mailbag once again, and our mailbag runneth over once again. Just about a week away from it getting real in the LBK, Arkansas Pine Bluff, coming to town, fitting the description of the first potential victim. Do we know what that is? We don't, but we assume there's Arkansas, Pine, and possibly a bluff involved. We're going to learn more next week. Chris, I want to get to a couple of different things with you today. Obviously, some wild, some woolly subjects as we leave it to the mob, and you know how that can go. But related to the upcoming season, questions about why so cautious with our guarded optimism. At least mine. I'll speak personally and let you speak for yourself in just a moment. Also, questions about what's been in the news this week regarding strength of schedule, and I guess moving forward now, how they're going to interpret this or possibly factor this in a different way than it was previously. I want to talk about pass catchers, a group we touched on not too long ago, but specifically a question about maybe how many guys we see involved this year compared to some recent seasons where it seemed like there was a really clear-cut hierarchy. But to kick off our conversation, and don't pardon that pun, deal with it, it'll be great for you. We have this question from Andrew, who wants to know, on the running through walls scale, how many would you run through leaving the kickoff luncheon? Andrew said, Chris, he admired from afar but did not approach. He saw the big handsome in person, I guess. That's a special experience for anybody out there. But how hyped are you on the run-through wall scale, leaving that sucker this week?
I might have leaked a little liquid awesome there that I had to kind of wipe out, or tried to find a wall to run through. No, that's what it's for. I mean, it's a pep rally of sorts with good barbecue, and you know you're fortunate enough right now to have, like we've talked about over the last 9 months or so. We've talked about how aligned you are and how different levels of this university system and in positions of leadership are really all on the same page. And you got to hear from pretty much all of them at this luncheon. You heard from President Skubanek, from Kirby Hocutt, from the chairman of the Board of Regents, Cody Campbell, and then Joey McGuire, who are all on the same page and have all been directly involved into what you're trying to get done here. Let's toss out some numbers to you here. I may forget some of this, but I also want to don't forget to get into kind of what Cody Campbell talked about when he said he goes, I get asked about expectations this year all along. So I think that's very important to note. Let me toss out some numbers to you though here. It was mentioned that the Matador Club over the last 9 months to a year, whatever, was able to raise, I think, over $63 million. It was announced that the largest freshman class, I think, is enrolling at Texas Tech in the coming days. Right now, your overall undergrad enrollment will be over 42,000. I think I've termed that correctly. You are hearing that they will have an enrollment of over 50,000 over the next 10 years. That's what they're going to work toward. And so they're kind of like just telling you, we are ready to be a big boy, and we're not shrinking, we're growing. Let's see. We all threw tortillas in the air. Kirby Hocutt spoke about, this is the numbers aspect I'm going to go to, that he was the one amongst the 15 other saps and softies that were like, please don't throw a flour tortilla in my direction. I might crumble up. You freaking bunch of. Okay. So there was that. So we did that. So there was a lot of 15-1 discussion. We used to be a 4-1 institution around here as it relates to basketball, but now it sounds like we're a 15-1. So again, we're growing, we're expanding, we're like an accordion, like we're squeezing that bad boy out. And I think Cody was asked. President Skubanek was like, "Yeah, I've got us going 12-0 and going to the playoff," and he was kind of tongue in cheek and all that. And I think Joey was like, "We'll try." But Cody was asked about, and I think this is maybe the most important thing we can talk about in this show, or the way people should view this thing. And it's exciting to hear, especially from him. He said, I get asked a lot about expectations for the year because what we have done here has made a lot of news. We've been an agent of chaos. We've been a disruptor. We have people looking down upon us because they're either jealous or frustrated or think we're taking some sort of shortcut, whatever. It's like there's all these opinions out there from everybody, some in the league, some outside of it. But he's like, I get asked all the time about, from media folks or just other folks, what is your expectation for this season? And he said, and he's smart to understand this, people are trying to set him up for some sort of, to create some drama, to take what he said and then put it toward what really happens. And then it's like, okay, well, this is, what now? And he said, I'm not, he I think his comment was, we will be in a position to win every game. No one, this is a direct quote, no one will line up and just whip our ass. I don't care who you are, because of what we've put together here. But we will be in a position, and that's the stated goal here. We want to be in a position to contend and win conference championships in November from now going forward. And the more positions that we put ourselves in, we will start to win championships. So it's not just about this season. His expectation is to be having your best foot forward for the foreseeable future, the years to come. He's ready to not only just, yes, we got to get to Arlington this year. Yes, we got to win the Big 12 championship. No, we want to take a step as an institution and an athletic department and a football program to really be like a which is the hardest step, but to be a contender every year, to where you're the team that starts getting the benefit of the doubt, and all those kinds of things. So I think it's important for people to hear that. This isn't like a one-time only deal. Like, okay, let's just see what happens, and then you're just going to go back to where you came from. No, they're going to continue to push and push hard and push forward for many, many years to come. And he was very grateful and thankful for the position that he's in. He's thankful that he can help, is what he said. And he really loves Texas Tech. And I told him after the luncheon, I said, glad you're on my team, man. He said, I'm glad Locked On Texas Tech and Casey Cowan are on my team too. I was like, man, hey, so we're simpatico here. No, all kidding aside, though, he did say that he just is thankful that he's fortunate enough to be in a position to where he can help, and help he has.
So you're kidding about him saying my name. Damn. Sounds like the answer is, Andrew, that's about, I'd say 9.2 to 9.5 walls out of 10 possible that Chris is ready to run through, and maybe most leaving the room that day. I'm glad to hear about all of the above, Chris. It is not the line that will make for the best Saturday morning debate or hot take conversation. So that narrative will not be emphasized or anything like that by national media. I have no doubt about it, regional media, whatever. It's the same thing that I think a lot of us just feel organically, in that we know it's not an all in or give up totally season. That doesn't even make any sense to anybody with a functioning brain. So it's perfect for national media, actually, to sit there and go back and forth about, well, this is the expectation. And look, we've heard it from Coach McGuire and plenty of others that you've got conference hardware contention as an expectation. So what more do you want? But we've already talked about this on a previous episode, so I won't belabor the point. When it comes to the thought of like, hey, we're running an experiment here, and if it doesn't go perfectly, we're shutting down the program. Just an insane narrative, again, for anybody that's even marginally functioning. So know that, and I'm glad that Cody Campbell has that to say, and hopefully we'll still continue to echo that, and maybe he will get a little pub when it comes to the reality of the situation. But you know what's more interesting for a game day program and conversations between five people at a panel, and it's not that kind of thing. Like, hey, we're just beginning. It's more like, who are they running out of town if it doesn't go well?
Yeah, I will say this too, man. You've got just an interesting human as your head coach.
Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel, and August 26th is officially FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For only 24 hours, FanDuel is going to be giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP or eyeing a long shot division winner or ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before week one even kicks off, this is your moment with FanDuel Futures Day, August 26th. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now, because Futures Day is one day and one day only. August 26th with FanDuel. Play your game.
Man, you've got just an interesting human as your head coach. That is just, as I've said it all the time, he's a vibe. Just what he is. It doesn't turn off. It's like, damn, can we just turn this engine off? And he just goes, man. He's in the people business. We all understand that. It's more so the people business now than maybe ever before, because it's about retention as much as it is recruiting and and maintaining relationships and all these things. But in true Joey Maguire fashion, he started off his talk with, we had an unfortunate situation with Quentin Joyner. And we hate it. And when our thoughts are with Quentin, he's a great young man. He's a heck of a football player. But he said, with that, I would like for Jacoby Williams and Cam Dickey to please stand up. And see, and that's why it's like, a lot of people would be like, yeah, it's gonna hurt us. And they're like, no, we are foot on the gas. These are the two individuals. You need to know their names. And we are fully supportive of these guys. You're going to know their names by the end of the year if you don't already know them. They ran for combined 200 against Arkansas last December, and away we go. And it's just like, again, what's next? But Joey, man, he's just like I wish there was like a bottle of Joey pills you could go take at the store and like just kind of get hopped up on all that stuff, and like all natural, mind you. With no side effects, that is just like a bottle of feel good that he just, and maybe when he's at home, he's like, damn, this sucks. I don't know, but you're never going to see that. You're never going to see it. I appreciated him like calling out Jacoby and Cam in that way, because there's been a lot of, I didn't exactly handle it well. I mean, you know, when I texted you when we first saw it, it was like, well, shoot, this may not be the best, but hey man, fully optimistic. Or just guzzle the Kool-Aid by the gallon full if you want. So there you go.
All right, thank you for that question. We'll stick on the offensive side of the football, but talk about a different group. This question from Ruben regarding pass catchers. Asking if we have an idea whether or not we could see Tech wide receivers rotating more this year beyond, say, a first string. He's saying it seems like we rode with the starters most of the time last year. Could we have had fresher legs? What do you think it could be like this time around regarding utilizing some of that depth, if there is some to be utilized, I guess?
Maybe. I think the more vertical routes you run, it can lead to some guys getting tired, and so then you want to the fresh legs. But the question always comes down to, it sounds great in theory. It's like the Taj Brooks thing last year when it's like, okay, who's going to back him up? It's like when you see Caleb or Reggie Virgil or Coy Aiken standing over there next to you, you're like, dude, what are you standing here for? Get your butt out there. Like it's just hard. You can sit here and talk about how much you want to play other guys all the time. And then you realize, like in a football game, you may run 70 to 80 plays. And I'd kind of like to think that Reggie Virgil and Caleb Douglas and Coy Aiken could play, 60 of those pretty easy, right? So there's just not, maybe more, yeah. So I don't want to like not really answer the question, but it's just like, this is kind of always a top. At some point you are going to need depth, whether it's fresh legs or somebody goes down or is going to miss a game or whatever it is. You need some of that. I do think that there's just this weird gap of, and maybe that gap is shrinking, but there's this weird upper class, senior laden experience group. And, even Reggie Virgil's not that experienced, but he's more experienced than a lot of guys you have. And then there's this kind of very talented, younger, unproven group that you continue to see flashes of and all that stuff. And so, who is in line to go, okay, if we're going to sit these guys on the sideline for this series or whatever, who is it that's actually going to be in the game? And right now maybe that's Micah Hudson, maybe that's TJ West, maybe that's Tyson Turner, maybe that's Morgan or Stone or Jones, or I'm forgetting a bunch of them, but yeah, you get the idea. So that's the tricky thing.
Yeah, I'm trying to jog some memories from a season ago, and I don't really recall as a fan ever feeling like tired legs were the downfall necessarily. And I don't recall when guys are as effective as, say, Josh Kelly or Caleb Douglas, Taj Brooks, I don't recall ever feeling like we got to get some fresh legs. It was more like throw it to him again, give it to him again, ride it till the wheels fall off. You only live once. So I don't – maybe I'm missing something. You can remind me in the YouTube comments or shoot us a text if you're thinking of a situation where it did play out that way. But when you have guys that are go-to, worthy, I think you keep going to them. And certainly Kelly and Brooks were that. I think Douglas trended toward that as the year went on. I don't want to see those guys off the field. So like you're saying, only so many snaps in the game. How many of them do you want to look to your left and see Taj Brooks standing next to you? Not many. Thank you for that question. This question from Ed, back to a bigger picture topic, Chris. And we also had, let's see here, Jacob as well asking about news regarding factoring in strength of schedule this week whenever it comes to playoff fields in the future and how that will be weighted, balanced out. Do you have a feel for, I don't know, winners or losers or our own selfish interests whenever it comes to what seems to be, I guess, a heavier emphasis placed on strength of schedule? Mind you, when no one plays even a remotely comparable schedule from conference to conference.
Yeah, win your league. Yeah, I mean, that's
question, Ed.
Win your league and remove it. This is one of I don't know, a long list of different metrics that they're tweaking. It's not, I don't know if this is going to be the big difference or anything like that with anything that ultimately matters. I mean, it sounds good. It's a big time talking point, but it's like body clock talk. I mean, of course there's a strength of schedule. I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's like,
you don't like the body clock talk?
It's just,
I think I may have engaged in some body clock talk.
It's like, what are we doing, man? The committee gets a lot of grief. I don't know. I think the one decision that they may have made over the last decade that really was the most highest profile was like when they put Alabama in and took Florida State out before they expanded the playoff. And that was because of the injury to that Florida State quarterback. And, I didn't disagree with the point where like, I mean, it really sucks for these guys, but they're not the same team that, whatever. I get all that. And, to each his own. So you can have an issue with that decision. That there was maybe no right or wrong answer there. But other than that, I think for the most part, they've, because I'll tell you who got in last year just by stacking up wins was Indiana. I mean, their strength of schedule was not very good at all. In fact, I don't know, did they have a win over a top 25 team? I'm not sure that they did, but because they were, a 10 or 11 win team, whatever it was, and they were legit. I mean, they were good. But anyway, I've seen that. I've been asked about it. Hey, do we need to do anything differently here? I think there's such a long list of metrics, and if they're going to expand it or not expand it, I just don't know if it ultimately can change as much of what you've already got on paper and what you'll do. Some may tweak what they're doing or whatever from a non-conference standpoint. But again, a lot of this stuff is already set in stone and for the next 5 to 8 years.
All right. Thank you for that question. This question here from Ryan. Is Utah making you more nervous as we get closer to the year? They've got their own hype buildup happening. You noticing this?
Very much so. I don't know if it's making me more nervous. I just hope people realize that's going to be a monster football game in week 4. Um, maybe much more so than we realized, say, 4 or 5 months ago. There's a lot of folks that think Utah is going to win the Big 12. I saw, Greg McElroy in a podcast he does. He picked Utah to win the Big 12. I saw a PFF show, which is really high on Texas Tech, mind you. They picked Utah to win the Big 12. They feel like that they just lost a bunch of close games last year. Their offense was just inept, and yet they were still in a position to be in a lot of games. And then they've replaced their quarterback and OC battery, because I saw the point made.
First, today's episode brought to you by Rugiet. Boys, you've probably heard of Viagra or Cialis. Maybe you've even tried them, but if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to get Rugiet Ready. Rugiet Ready is the next-gen prescription treatment designed to amplify brain stimulation and boost blood flow. Unlike the usual pills that can take hours, Rugiet's 3-in-1 formula dissolves under your tongue and kicks in fast, on average in only 15 minutes. If traditional options haven't worked, Rugiet might be the answer. Over 150,000 men have already made the switch. So head to Rugiet.com/lockedoncollege and use our code LOCKEDONCollege to get 15% off today. That's Rugiet.com/lockedoncollege, RUGIET.com/lockedoncollege, and use our promo code LOCKEDONCollege for 15% off. Individual results may vary with prescription treatment. Compounded drugs are permitted to be prescribed under federal law, but are not FDA approved and do not undergo FDA safety, effectiveness, or manufacturing review. Please visit the Rugiet website for full safety information.
I saw the point made. It's like, man, there's a lot of people kind of high on Oklahoma for going to replace their OC and their quarterback from the same school. It's like, you don't have to really teach the quarterback the new system because he was in it at the previous place with the OC. And this is the same thing that Utah did. And their offensive line may be as good as what Texas Tech sees all year, and maybe one of the best in the Big 12, if not the country. So again, we've highlighted that matchup, but that's going to be a stiff test. And I think you'll get I kind of like that they're getting a lot of praise and all that stuff, because you'll get, if you can go in there and win, you're going to get a lot of credit. And if you lose, yes, it removes some margin for error from you, but all is not lost. Like, we just have to remember that. It's just week 4. It's one loss. It's just going to it's going to cause some freak out because it's the first of the conference games. And then you have a bye week after that. So it's going to, you're going to have to sit on it for, a couple of weeks before you get a chance to go do anything about it at Houston. But that's a big boy game. And so, yeah, I don't know if it makes me nervous. The one thing that they lack is you're going to get the Washington State running back in that game too. He played for the Cougs last year. He transferred to Utah. So remember that too. But the one thing that they lack is that they don't have a lot of guys on the outside to catch the ball and a lot of weapons in their offense. And so they're going to try to muck that game up and shrink it and, make it real ugly. If you can get up on them, I think, or anybody gets up on them, you'll have an advantage. So we'll kind of see. But yeah, Utah, I think that they're deserving of some praise here for sure.
All right, thank you for that question. Another question regarding this upcoming year from Anson, who says, "Guns up, boys. We've almost made it back to college football. Tell me, who are we looking to win in Dublin this weekend? What do we want? And what do you actually think we're going to see play out?"
This question makes my head hurt. I'm trying to think about this every possible way, which way that I can. Personally, like the professional answer, the tech angle to it, so.
I prefer the professional answer least. I'll just say that. Tech interest maybe first.
Yeah, that's right.
Since we're in the trust tree.
And the tricky thing there is the tricky thing there is like you ultimately just don't know. Like you're projecting. So here's how I'll answer it. I'll just lay it out there. I tend to think that Kansas State is a bit better than Iowa State is. Okay, so if you follow my logic here, I just think Kansas State's a bit better. So, like, do you say, well, then you want Iowa State to win that game? However, you can do something about the Kansas State scenario because you play them. So there's a direct, like, we're going to get a meeting there in late October, early November, and I can do something about Kansas State. And if they were to win this game, it's like one feather in their cap, and it's, you know, whereas like Iowa State, you can't. You just have to sit back and watch to see what else that they do and how they maneuver their way through the year. And so, you know, are you rooting for K-State to take? Because this is really how I looked at it. Who do you want to take the L? Not who you want to win, but who do you want to take the L? Who makes you more nervous?
K-State.
Yeah,
I'm picking up what you're putting down. Yeah.
And I think Kansas State is better personally, and so I want them to take the L. And I'll take.
They love taking L's this time of year, Chris. Half the time it's the Timbuktu U, and then they go win 9 games.
Yeah,
so that's classic Kansas State.
And I worry about. I mean, because it's a great quarterback game with Rocco Becht and Avery Johnson, or should be. I do worry about, though, like why I'm not as high on Iowa State. I just they've kind of got the same Utah problem. Last year they had no running game, really. It was just very average compared to what they're used to, but they had these 2 NFL wideouts. And when healthy, a tight end that was legit. And I don't know if they may tell you that, but I just don't know if they've ably replaced all of that. And so I don't know. This is going to be a 21-17, 24-20, 23-21 type of game. But, you know, I'm afraid Kansas State will win it, but if you're asking my opinion, I hope that Iowa State wins it.
Yes, we are simpatico on both fronts. All right, thank you for that question. This one from Joe. Assuming it's not 50-50, could you predict a split of carries by the new quote-unquote running back committee? You can include Adam Hill if you want to. I'm thinking more just the pair.
I mean, it probably is 50-50. Like, see, I think that when Quentin was healthy, and this is what you were going to roll with, that in a normal competitive game, not a blowout or whatever, a normal competitive game where you ran the ball 30 to 35 times, that Quentin would have taken 60 to maybe 65% of those. Jacoby Williams would have taken several others, and then Cam Dickey would have been sprinkled in. Cam Dickey's been pushed to the forefront here, and Jacoby is going to get more than maybe what he was getting too. But I think that, I mean, because it's easy to say, well, I mean, just move Jacoby up, because if you're saying he was going to get, but he's just not that kind of back. I just don't know if that's smart, or if that's what they really want to do, is like hand it to him 25 times every time out. He's 185 pounds. I think he needs to be used sparingly, is not the right word, but like as a complimentary back. And then like it's a change of pace. Cam Dickey and Adam Hill are similar in build and all those things, and it's a different style, whereas Cam's just got a lot of juice. Jacoby's got a lot of juice and bounces it to the outside and all those things. But I would say, if you're asking me right now, it's probably closer to 50-50, I bet, as better at what you're looking at. But they may not ultimately know.
Yeah, and depending on how things progress within any given game, I mean, you may be riding a hot hand, or you may be in situations where it's not so much dual back stuff, and maybe it's this guy because he's more useful in the passing game, or whatever it might be. So who knows? It's 52-48, whatever it may be, Jacoby to Cameron Dickey. That's my answer, and I have crunched the numbers. Thank you for that question. This one from Kyle. 2-part question, 2-sport question. And I like he gets right to the point. Micah Hudson in the backfield? Question mark. Any connections to Jizzle James? Question mark. There you
go. Jizzle James question. I was not expecting that.
You didn't? I was hoping we'd get one.
Yeah, it's fun to say, isn't it? Jizzle James.
I would just love to hear Rick Gilbert ringing out through the rafters at the USA, Jizzle. I think I can speak for all of us.
Yeah, I concur, sir. I wouldn't. I think Micah is much like Roy Alexander, who I didn't mention earlier when we were talking about all the wideouts. I mean, Roy Alexander absolutely deserves to be mentioned very prominently in the wide receiver rotation and in the backfield, conversation. Micah is very much one of those players that I think you can do a variety of different things with and put him around. And so I would not rule that out. No. I would still say that Roy Alexander is probably more of a prime candidate to either wildcat or running back or whatever be in the backfield over Micah. But I think Micah maybe now emerged as more of a returner in some ways, whereas Jacoby may have been more prominent before this injury to Joyner, and so you've had to just tweak and adjust some things. I think that's a fair assumption to make. Jizzle James, I don't think that's happening. There was some trouble there. I think it was multiple troubles.
Not Jizzle. That doesn't sound like Jizzle.
And I mean, this is a big year for Wes Miller up in Cincinnati, and so for you to kick off your leading scorer with a lot on the line should tell you a lot. But I appreciate the question because you don't ever rule anything out. And if anything, Texas Tech, I mean, they brought Marshall Henderson in here. He never actually played for you, but they'll take some chances now. And you kind of have to. I appreciate it. So never say never. But I don't know if you're needing to go that route. And so, yeah, I don't think you will.
Fair enough. All right. Thank you for that question. This one from Chase, talking about another opponent upcoming this year. Chase says, we've got Oregon State fans really feeling themselves. Let them know that's illegal in Texas in public, at least. Chase, what do you think the Vegas line on this game is going to be? And I also need a confidence level. Chase says he's betting his mortgage. Beaver action for Chase. Put the house on it.
Well, Chase, I like what you're into there, buddy, because we're all into beaver action, depending on how you want to.
I love wildlife shows. I can't help it. Planet Earth, I always get locked in.
You got it. Mm-hmm. I'm going to say this is like, I don't know if this is like a somewhere between 12 to 14 point favorite for Texas Tech at home.
Really? That's bigger than I was expecting.
Yeah. Yeah, and is Malik Murphy? And it's just they're just rebuilt as Oregon State. I think these were quality teams, and I know that Oregon State may be feeling some of that Washington State love. This is just a different deal this year. It just is. I don't know how else I can say it, but and I know some people are into historical perspectives and like the way it looked 10 years ago and this and that. This is kind of like a separate thing. And so last year doesn't matter. It has no effect on this year whatsoever because this is a completely different team and roster, like by a lot. And so, yeah, if that's the reason for some of the optimism from Oregon State, I mean, to each his own, but, and it's fun to be optimistic this time of year, but
sure.
I'll choose to go be into Beavers another time.
0-0, baby. Nothing can hurt us right now, and that includes you, Oregon State. Though look out, the pain train is coming down the tracks. All right, thank you for that question. Let's see here. This question: where would you say the weakness is on our defensive line? As in, how do you think teams will try to attack them? That's from Jonathan and Kyle Whittingham. Sounds familiar.
So, yeah, the head coach of Utah.
Oh, yeah. We may want to reel this answer in, actually. Think about any blueprints.
How will they attack the defensive?
Yeah, what do you think? You got to come up with something. You can't say we're going to punt on first down. So how do you think actually somebody might try to exploit something up front?
I think there'll be some that I honestly think that you'll see some teams really just try to hammer it at you and see if you can, if that's the way that it goes, and maybe like.
So that's respect for the pass rush, right? Like running right into the teeth of that kind of thing.
Or I'm saying yes, and the speed on the edge, may not try to take it on the out. So yeah. I don't know. Misdirection. But I tend to think that I don't know if that necessarily will work because I think that they're pretty stout, and that's where someone like Jacob Rodriguez, the Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year, comes in. Is when you try to run it in between one of those main gaps right there. So, but I tend to think you're going to get some people that try to test that, see if you can, because this has always been hey, let's just run it right at them, see if they're all if they're all about that. And David Bailey will tell you what was he criticized for by the NFL folks. Well, my run defense, I've got to get better there. And like with an elite pass rusher, sometimes maybe you run it right at Romello height. You take it off tackle and kind of try to bounce it, or So I don't know. That's what I kind of expect to see by some of these folks. And there's a lot of teams that are built to do it because the quarterbacks are so good and the play action is going to be there. And there's a lot of downhill teams that you'll see. I mean, Utah is going to be one of those. I mean, they're not going to try to come out and throw it 30, 40 times a game. I don't think that, even though they have Sam Levitt at QB, I really don't think that's what Arizona State's going to do. This is also what Kansas State's going to do too. So the three biggest games, it's going to be about stopping the run game and, all those kinds of things. So I would say to you that BYU will be the same. I would say that West Virginia will be the same. I don't know if we know enough about Oklahoma State yet and Houston yet, but a lot of these, it's going to be about stopping the run game, whether it be on the interior or on the edge.
That's right. It's the black and blue conference, baby. Sounds like football to me. None of this fancy pants trip sets like the SEC. Okay, maybe I'm getting a little extreme there. Okay, this one from Mason. Any other injuries that you feel like are notable beyond, say, Reggie Virgil's foot, some of the offensive line health? And he's got a second part here. Michael Henderson or Adam Hill, if you could only have one as a running back.
Okay. There's some of those O-line injuries. I mean, I think Scurry is somebody I'm just still kind of trying to figure out what the timetable there may be. I mean, last time Clay was asked about it, I think Vinny's going through some things off the field too, like some family stuff and everything, and so that's part of the deal too. And hopefully that gets sorted out quickly, and he can get back and get going and make football violent again, which is that hat that he wears all the time. But yeah, I'm monitoring Zambrano's return and Cash Cleveland's return. Holton Hendricks has missed some time lately, and just so some of the O-line stuff. But there's really not anything. I mean, Duda Banks has come back. That would have been one I've worried about. I mean, you're going to get Justin Horn back maybe in October. You should get Chapman back in, for the last 4 games or something. And then we'll see. Because there'll be more people that show up on that injury report or the availability report, I guess it should say, on Monday whenever they release the game notes before this Pine Bluff game. There'll be more people that are listed on there that you weren't previously aware of, and that's just part of it. But nothing that I'm aware of now. No.
I don't even want to talk about it because we've already had a really significant one. But I feel like for the most part, Chris. Presuming some things could go smoothly over this next week, you had a decent run up to the year when you really had some significant stuff to deal with in previous seasons, and there's just no way to get around a loss like Quentin Joyner. But I'm hoping that we're able to get, particularly in the trenches, some good look at an almost complete kind of picture early in the year. It just seemed, particularly with the offensive line, I guess, too, and we're still dealing with some of that. It's just this work in progress thing on and on and on and on, because it's just hard to get the same 5 faces in the same 5 places and stack those weeks up. It seemed that way, at least.
Yeah, and Clay McGuire was at our table at the luncheon, and me just talking to the group there, and it's just like, man, we're not all world or anything, but we are much better than we were last year, and I think people would take that. Like much, much better,
sure.
Kind of thing. So I think people would take that and run. I didn't answer the last.
Yeah, question. Hollywood or Albany?
I know. I mean, yes. Why do I have to pick? I mean, because you can't, because it's either Albany or Hollywood, and you got to have. You got to have a third and a fourth, and you may even need a fifth at times. But those are completely different players. if you just made me choose, I guess I would take Albany in this little, I'd take Adam Hill just because he's been there for the last like year and a half and he's got some size to him. Whereas, Michael just showed up over there, and I think Garrett McGuire said he's like, this is the first carry he's taken in like 9-10 months since like last November or whatever of his high school year in 2024. So I'd probably take, just from that standpoint alone, I'd probably take Adam. But yeah, man, I'm all for Albany and Hollywood.
Greg was asking, did he hear Coach McGuire say Adam Hill was 6'2", 240 pounds?
He's listed at like 6'1" and 225, but that's an old listing. But yeah, I mean, he's think Mike Allstott, and that's heavy praise. I mean, he's not going to like just pewter power and like where he's just running through everybody, and it's like it looks like Earl Campbell, like the Caucasian version or anything like that. But he's got some Mike Allstott vibes going on, or some. I'm trying to think of some other like tailbacks that like remind me of that. It's he'll run through you, around you, but he's not gonna like run away from it. He's just a football playing dude, man. He's like he's just like the epitome of high school football in this state. And there's nothing he couldn't do at the smaller high school he was at, and he just put on show after show after show. It's like hand it to him, throw it to him, watch him go tackle, watch him kick, punt. I mean, this is just who he is. And so, right, because we told you this, he's been running back here. It's almost been out of a necessity, and they're kind of like, man, I think we're going to move you over to linebacker, and that may still happen in time, but it's not going to happen this year. But that speaks to kind of who he is as a player. Thank Jacob Rodriguez.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for that question. This one here from Ethan, who's asking about cautious optimism. Why is there such caution regarding expectations for this season? I think I've shared some of that, but I don't know that everybody is.
Because we're soft.
we don't read books, history. Yeah, we don't know what's happened.
We've been burned. We're SAWFT, soft. That whole deal. The
better part of valor is discretion, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, but let yourself go, or protect those emotions. Whatever. This is the fun part. Yeah, just be vulnerable, and like be like open yourself up. Like, okay, I'm ready for whatever comes. I mean, and odds are, you just have to understand. Odds are you're not winning all of these football games, and that's okay. But you have to remember, this stuff is supposed to be fun. And so be optimistic if you want. Just don't get mad when it's like they don't go, 14-0 and, and hang around in the confetti when it's all said and done, right? I mean, this isn't happening. But I just think that some people forget that this is supposed to be fun and you're supposed to find joy in it and all that. It's like they just want to find everything that's wrong with everything. Well, I mean, gosh, if this is what we're going to do, man, we're not going to win another game the rest of this year. I mean, this is just what, so
you better pace yourself.
Do what?
You better pace yourself if you're rolling that way is what I'm saying.
That's right. But if you want to juggle, I've said that twice now. If you want to jug or down a jug of Kool-Aid, juggle. What am I saying? Guzzle. Geez. If you wanted to guzzle the Kool-Aid until you're just spilling it all over yourself, by all means. I mean, pour me some too. I'll pour it all over myself too. We can Stone Cold Steve Austin and smash it and pour it all over ourselves. And if you want to be very cautious, be like, yeah, I've heard this movie before. I don't trust it. Totally understand. Totally get where you're coming from. Just find your spot where you're comfortable and then get on the ride. And when that bar comes down and it clicks, just know, okay, I mean, there's going to be a loop-de-loop. There's going to be like a drop. There's going to be like a, you're going to hear that chain click where you're like, okay, well, what's coming next? I mean, and then there's going to be the picture of you, like in the most inopportune time, like that snaps you, like the roller coaster shot. And then at the end of the day, you're going to be like, okay, well, I'd like to go ride that ride again. That's what we could all hope for, right?
I think so. Yeah, it's just all about the ride, really. The expectation part, I don't really dive
Yeah.
into. The prognostication, I just don't care. I'm just curious to see how it plays out. I have expectations of them being a quality team for obvious reasons, with so many improved areas that we've talked about all off season long. But some extreme disappointment, certainly as you roll through the year, talking style points week to week to week. That's just never been something I'm all that interested in. And I know what was tripping you up. I think it's something that was kind of leading us closer to a child's tongue twister of a twisted variety. Maybe talking about our guy Jizzle juggling as he's guzzling down by the seashore or something like that. So I get it. No worries. It's been a long episode already, but we're not done. Got another question here. Thank you for that question. This one from David. He wants to talk the future and a name that you've mentioned before on this show, Kavion Bryant, a target for Texas Tech and many, many others as it relates to a quarterback play in the future. And there's a question about whether or not he could actually be a dual sport guy, football and basketball at Texas Tech. And is there any comparison that you might make to a skill set of a quarterback that's out there now or has been out there before? But to hear the answer to that question, you'll need to be a Matador Mob insider. So hit the show notes and find a link to a free 14-day trial. For those on the outside, this is where we leave you. Make sure you're subscribed on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts so you don't miss a thing, and become a Matador Mobster today for less than a cup of coffee a month so you can get the full Mailbag experience next week. Hope everybody has a great weekend. Chris, thank you for your regulation time. It's on to the OT.
Yeah, man, we got what do we got, about 25, 30 more minutes here this overtime. So yeah, keep hanging, man. We'll try to entertain. But yeah, appreciate everybody hanging with us. The off season officially over with. Guns up, and we'll either talk to you in the overtime period or we'll talk to you next week. But we greatly appreciate it, and it's about to be game week.
That's right.
Game week. Yep.
That's right. One weekend closer. Everybody, hope you have a great weekend. Thank you so much for your time. As always, Jizzle juggles as he guzzles down by the seashore, and we hope to see you back for the next round on Locked On Texas Tech.